Hello everyone, this is your IGCSE study guide, and today I will be starting off with the first chapter of biology, that is characteristics and classification of living organism. There are seven main characteristics for any living organism, and they are movement, which is an action by an organism or a part of an organism causing a change of position or place. Respiration, the chemical reaction in cells that break down nutrient molecule and release energy. Sensitivity is the ability to detect or sense stimuli in the internal or external environment and to make appropriate responses. Growth is a permanent increase in size or dry mass by an increase in cell number or cell size or both. Reproduction is the process that makes more of the same kind of organism. Excretion is the removal of waste products of metabolism, like toxic materials. Nutrition is the taking in of material for energy, growth, and development. All all of these are put into a simple acronym that you can simply remember as Mrs. Grimm. Yes. The binomial naming system. In the binomial naming system, there are always two words. The first word is always the genus name, and the second word is always the species name. The genus name should always start with a capital letter. The species name should always start with a lowercase letter. While writing, we underline the two words separately, but in your textbooks you'd see that it's written in italics because when you write it, you can't really write it in italics. It is not that noticeable, so it is preferred that you underline the words. There are two ways to classify any organism. There is morphology and anatomy. Morphology is classifying by external features. For example, if the skin, how the skin is. For example, scaly skin or soft, moist skin, or if what the skin is covered in, like hair or fur or feathers. And anatomy is classifying by internal features, like looking at your DNA or the number of heart chambers you have, the number of heart chambers the organism has, obviously. There are five main kingdoms, and they are the plants, animals, kingdom fungi, prokaryotes, and proctoctista. Now let's start off with plants. All plants have the green pigment chlorophyll, and the chlorophyll helps the plant in photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is basically the process in which the plants make food for themselves. There are two types of plants, which are flowering and non-flowering, and they're fixed to place and have a spreading shape to capture more sunlight. Then are animals. Most animals can actively move for food. Their cells have no cell wall, they are multicellular, their cells have a nucleus but no chloroplast. Hence, since there is no chloroplast, they cannot photosynthesize, meaning they feed on organic substances by other living organisms. They have vesicles, which are like smaller vacuoles. Vacuoles are present in plants. Fungi. For a long time, fungi were classified as plants. The main body of many types of fungi is made of microscopical threads called hyphae. Fungi is used in making ethanol and bread, and we eat them as mushrooms, and they are used to make antibiotics like penicillin. They can cause food decay while some cause diseases, including ringworm and athlete's foot. They are usually multicellular. They have a nuclei and also have a cell wall made out of chitin and not cellulose. They don't have chlorophyll, which means they don't photosynthesize. They either feed by saprophytic nutrition or parasitic nutrition. That is, saprophytic nutrition is when they live and feed on dead or decaying organisms. A parasitic nutrition is when they live in a host organism and use it at its expenses for food. They also reproduce by spores. Prokaryotes. Bacteria belong to this kingdom. Their cells have a very their cells are very different from the other kinds of organisms, and the most important difference is the absence of nucleus. They have a cell wall, but it is made of peptidoglycan. They have no mitochondria. They have plasmids, which are small circular double-stranded DNA, which is distinct from the cell's chromosomal DNA. Some are harmful, causing diseases like TB and cholera, but they also play an important role in the carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, biotechnology, and treatment of sewage. They are also used to make insulin through biotechnology, which we'll be learning later. Some of them can photosynthesize, and they are believed to be the first ever organisms to evolve. Pro- Proctista. Now, they are also called as protists. They have cells with nucleus, but some have plant-like cells and some have animal-like cells, meaning some can photosynthesize and some cannot photosynthesize. Well, this is basically it for Protoctista. An example of protists or amoeba, and then we have viruses. Although virus is not in the kingdom, but it is introduced as a major, well, part of the chapter. Viruses are usually not considered to be living organisms since they cannot do anything but exist until they enter a living cell. After they enter a living cell, the cell is now the cell is called a host cell. They take over the cell's machinery. They take over the cell's machinery and will use all its resources to replicate itself again and again. And after a point of time, after the cell is wasted, that is, they don't have any resources left, all the viruses just burst out of the cell and start entering more cells in the body of the organism. Now, this is important because in this process, the cell dies. The viruses can cause diseases in a range of, well, I guess, seriousness. That is, it can even be a common cold, seasonal flu, but it can also be some serious diseases like AIDS or the most recent one, COVID-19. Now we'll be looking more in under the kingdom Animalia, and there are two phylums, that is vertebrate and invertebrate. First, we'll go under the phylum vertebrate and have five main classes. They are class fishes, class amphibians, class reptiles, class birds, and class mammals. Class fishes, they do not have any shell. I mean, their eggs do not have any shells because they lay their eggs underwater. They have scaly skins. They breathe through gills. They have fins. That is basically it for fishes. Amphibians. Although most of the amphibians live in land, they breed underwater. This means their eggs again do not have a shell. Remember, if the eggs are going to be laid underwater, then the shell, there are there are no shells. They have a soft, moist skin. They have both lungs and gills. The young ones live underwater until their lungs are fully developed. That is, they are born with gills, but then they develop lungs as they grow. In the process in which the young ones grow to become an adult one, there are massive changes that are happening to the body. Now, this is called metamorphosis. Class reptiles, they do not go to water to breed, and hence their eggs have a shell that is waterproof, and this shell has all the minerals that well the embryo needs in the egg. They have a scaly skin. Most reptiles' eggs have a soft, leathery feeling to them. But as I said, the minerals in the egg can make the egg go hard, like very hard, like that of a bird's egg. Talking about a bird's egg, we come to birds. It is said that birds evolved from dinosaurs. They lay eggs with a waterproof shell, and the eggs shells are very hard. They have feathers in their body and occasionally have scaly skin in their legs. Their forelimbs become wings as they grow. They are endothermic. They have a beak. Their heart has four chambers. Mammals. Humans belong to this class. Mammals is described a lot in the textbook. So these are main points, which is they have hair or fur, their ears have pinna, they have placenta. The young ones feed through the mammary glands. They're warm-blooded, they have a diaphragm, their heart has four chambers, they have four different types of teeth, that is incisors, canines, molars and premolars, and then they have sweat glands in their skin. Now, under invertebrate, there is another phylum called arthropods. Now, the most common feature in all arthropods is the waterproof exoskeleton and jointed legs. Now, there are more arthropods than all the other living organisms combined. Now, here we are going to be learning about four types of arthropods, which are insects, crustaceans, arachnids, and myriapods. Insects. Insects are a very successful group of living organisms, and this is because of their waterproof exoskeleton and their trachea. They are terrestrial, meaning that they are land-dwelling. They have three pairs of jointed legs and one pair of antennae. Two pairs of wings, one or both may be vestigial. Vestigial means they are present for no particular reason. Their body is divided into three parts, that is, head, thorax, and abdomen. They breathe through their trachea. Now, so they're a very successful group of living organisms mainly because the trachea stops the water from evaporating, meaning that, well, they don't need much water. Rest aside. Class crustaceans, crabs, lobsters, and woodlice belong to this group. They are mostly aquatic, meaning they breathe through their gills. They have more than four pairs of jointed legs, but do not think that centipedes and millipedes belong to this class, and why? I'll talk about that when we come to myriapods. They have two pairs of antennae. Like all arthropods, they have an exoskeleton. Arachnids, spiders, ticks, and scorpions belong to this class. They have exactly four pairs of jointed legs. They breathe through gills called book lungs. They do not have an antenna. Their body is made of two main parts, cephalothorax, which is basically like head and thorax together, and abdomen. Then are myriapods. Yeah. Millipedes and centipedes belong to this class. They have one pair of antennae. Now, the reason why myriapods are separated from crustaceans is mainly because although crustaceans have jointed legs with more than four pairs, myriapods have jointed legs for each and every segment of their body. If you see a centipede or a millipede, they're like small. Each and every segment of their body will have like one or two pairs of jointed legs, and that is why myriapods and crustaceans are separated. Now we'll go all the way back and come to plants. As I said before, there are two types of plants: flowering and non-flowering. There are two main non-flowering plants that we are learning in this syllabus. They are moss and ferns. They both reproduce by spores like fungi, and all non-flowering plants do not have a vascular bundle. Under flowering plants, there are two types, monocots and dicots. Now, basically, monocots and dicots have everything their opposites. You see, one cotyledon, two cotyledon. Now, what is a cotyledon? When the seed germinates, there's always either one or two leaves sprouting from the seed. Now, if it's only one leaf, then it's called one cotyledon, and if there are two leaves that like sprout out of the seed when germination happens, then there are two cotyledons. Then that means it is two cotyledons. Monocots have parallel veins and dicots have branching veins. Leaves are long and narrow for monocots and leaves are short and broad for dicots. Now, this is very specific, but in monocots, the flower petals are always in the multiples of 3, while for dicots, it's 4 and 5. In monocots, the branching roots, the roots are in a branching root system. That is, uh, there's like just in well taproot system for dicots. Taproot system looks more organized, let's say, while branching root system is more random. The vascular bundle of monocots is arranged randomly, and in dicots, it is arranged in a ring. Now, I've put a table down there. You can take a screenshot or read through it. It basically just says everything that talked about for the past, I don't know, in this section. And, well, thank you.